In the 90s, when I was a young mother, married, I was living with, although I wouldn't call it living because it was extremely dysfunctional. I was dysfunctional. But every day was, full-blown acute mental health issues that were undiagnosed. And the only paradigm that I had for that was prayer and repentance and faith, which does not solve mental health issues anyway, plus just trying to survive in the dysfunction and just the daily things of poverty and being a mom. And it took me a very long time to realize, a few years, 5+ years for me to realize that something was wrong, like actually wrong with me. It wasn't just a matter of how I was choosing or that I was a bad person or something like that. I'm not saying those feelings went away immediately, but it started to dawn on me. And this was back when we were just barely maybe starting the mental health conversation as a society, and definitely not my family or the religion that I was participating in. And so I was starting to get clues for myself, but it was really hard to have a place to have this conversation outside of, so I was really alone in that also. But one of the clues, and there were more than one, but one of the clues that I had was that I was keeping a journal, and I noticed that 2 different people were writing in that journal. My manic episodes were writing in that journal, and my depressive episodes were writing in that journal, and they couldn't remember each other. And I don't necessarily mean that mentally, like I could remember what happened on that day, but I couldn't remember the feelings, the emotional state that I was in. When I was in a depressive state, I felt like that was always, my whole life was this abyss of hell, and I was writing about that in my journal. And when I was manic, I felt like everything was possible, and, God loved me, and I was going to fix this and fix anything. And, life was great, and I was powerful, and I would write that in my journal. But I didn't remember how bad I was feeling when I was manic, and I didn't remember how great I was feeling when I was depressive. And I happened to be reading it in my journal, and it was like clockwork. Like every 4 days I was manic and depressive, and I already had an inkling. So when I saw that, I was like, oh no. Oh no,